of this world, they do a lot, they undermine us. They think we cannot do nothing, they think it feels right. How can I continue with life if they wanna tease us? This is my life, you cannot judge.
Not judge.
Forever and ever, I would like my disability. Everything I do, I know that I've got ability. God is taking us, saving us from eternity. When you have it, accept it, take it seriously.
I lost my sight at the age of 2. Back then there was nothing that I knew. I thought I would never go to school. Things change now, see how I look. You won't believe it that I'm doing great 10. All it took was a paper and a pen. Life was good at the age of 10. You can do it too if you know that you can.
Yeah. With our disabilities, we know that we've got abilities. There's nothing we cannot do. People of this world, they do a lot, they undermine us. They think we cannot do nothing, they think it feels right. How can I continue with life if they wanna tease us? This is my life, you cannot judge.
Not judge.
Forever and ever, I would like my disability. Everything I do, I know that I've got ability. God is taking us, saving us from eternity. When you have it, accept it, take it seriously.
They will tell you stuff like you're never gonna make it. Once you do, they will say that you are faking. This is me and I know that I'm going places. Listen to myself when I speak, no changes. Nobody wants to hear me out when I speak. Please hear me out, why don't you take a seat? Why should I do it? Just hear me out and please think about your words, how they will make me feel. Careful what you say to other people who have disability, and your words can harm them in harmful ways.
People of this world, they do a lot, they undermine us. They think we cannot do nothing, they think it feels right. How can I continue with life if they wanna tease us? This is my life, you cannot judge.
Not judge.
Forever and ever, I would like my disability. Everything I do, I know that I've got ability. God is taking us, saving us from eternity. When you have it, accept it, take it seriously.
Thank you very much.
All right. Forever and ever I'll claim my disability. There's nothing I cannot do. That's my ability. Can we give them another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen? That was absolutely amazing. And Robin's just saying now that they really actually wrote that song themselves. So kudos to you guys on that. And thank you so much for sharing that with us. We really, really appreciate it. And moving right along with that, in the same spirit of being able to empower and creating platforms for those with disability, I'd now like to call upon, before we get into our panel discussion, Professor Lutka Kolov from the University of Australia, who will be sharing more on the platform that has been created that assists people living with disability. So over to you, Prof. Can we give him a round of applause, please?
Thanks a lot. Maybe you can show the platform. I'm from Germany, I'm from Lower Saxony, and since 30 years there's a cooperation between the land of Lower Saxony and the province and the Eastern Cape province. It's based on a connection with Volkswagen. 25% of Volkswagen belongs to the land of Lower Saxony, and there's a big plant in Uthagen from Volkswagen, and there's a cooperation between Mandela University and our university. And we have a project for people with disabilities to train them online. And in Germany, young people, they live, part of the living is in the internet. I think it's the same here. Young men, they stay in the internet for 75 hours per week, and young women 72 hours per week. I don't know if it's the same here, but if you want to reach young person, you have to go into the internet. You have to go virtual. And we had this program. It's a digital learning program. And there are more than 100 videos, training videos, digital training videos. And maybe we can show some videos on career guides, on financial guides. And you see on there's a playlist on a career guide from Border K, from Masifunde, from APD, from different organizations. And it's not only for people with disabilities, it's for people with special needs. So if you want to join this program, just go inside, look on the videos, and give us the feedback. What works, what doesn't work, and if you like it, tell other person about this program. It's free, and you can use it. And in the future, we will go on different target groups. We will go on deaf people. Most of these videos are with subtitles, and also with sign language. We want to make them all with sign language, and then we discuss, maybe we go also on the group of the blind people. I think for the blind people's videos don't make sense, but podcasts make sense. So we should develop something in this area. People with disabilities, they have the right to be part of the community like other peoples too, but they need special information, special training programs, and we try to develop them in Germany and also here in South Africa. Thanks a lot.
Right, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that, Prof. Wish you all the best, and thank you for keeping up the good work. For those of you who would like to gain more information about that, there is a brochure on our tables, so please just kindly go through it just to gather more information about what it's about, familiarize yourself with the digital platform, and of course, keep tracking the website to just gain more of an understanding of that. We're now going to go into our panel discussion, and I'd like to call our speakers onto the stage. I'll start with VIP ambassador, that is Aliswa Kuma, and I'd like to invite you to the stage. Can you give him a round of applause? Secondly, our presenters also, can I please call upon Usis Pogazi, Robin, just those two, Pogazi and Robin. All right, thank you so much for joining me. And colleagues, again, the conversation is open to all of us, but I think the purpose of this panel is kind of cement the engagement, because it's creating that woven thread between it. I feel in our own spaces and in the topics that they've been given, it's been addressing one particular item. But this is an opportunity for us to just kind of nitpick this engagement and obviously make it one that will allow us to also open it up to the floor to engage. But to kick off discussion, I'd just like to invite, maybe starting off with a shared question between Uspogazi and Robin. Both of you can answer that. But naturally, because you work in organizations that work a lot with communities, I think the first question to kick it off would be, how can communities work together to ensure that public spaces are accessible for everyone, regardless of their abilities? So again, maybe I'll start with you, Spogazi, and then I'll move over to Robin. How can communities work together to ensure that public spaces are accessible for everyone, regardless of their abilities?
All right. Thank you so much for the question. Communities can work together by participating in platforms. You know, there are platforms that are there in our various communities to ensure that our communities are accessible. Either you talk of schools, roads, public transport, and all that. So firstly, from a municipal level, we have our municipality in the Bay, which also is involved in matters of disability inclusion. So they provide a space as a municipality whereby they bring us as universities, they bring us as schools, as NPO, as DPOs, to come and have platforms where we share ideas and share also responsibilities. They provide platforms for us to share responsibilities whereby we can come up with our best expertise. For example, in the university side, when they have the for example, for this Disability Rights Awareness Month, municipality will invite us to say, okay, in terms of communication, how do we make our communication accessible in our municipalities? So in our communication, especially, for example, with me communicating with the blind students or visually impaired, I will share what I have so that they can benefit from. So we can engage. We are privileged to be at the local municipal level. There are platforms where we can engage on. Thank you.
Robin?
Yeah, I fully agree with what Sipokazi said. And I think also bringing things to the attention of people that can do something about it. I like to believe that a lot of things are not done maliciously or intentionally, but rather pure lack of knowledge. So when you see something or you notice something, you know, bring it to the attention of somebody that could do something about it to change it or improve it. So it's all about that awareness and speaking out about it, and then following up, and where needed, you know, when it's one voice is not loud enough, coming together, you know, really speaking together, you know, as we've heard now from APD with their march, where this is the kind of opportunity where it's been spoken, it's been asked and raised, and the powers that be are aware, but it's not being actioned. And so now is the time where we need to come together. So I think supporting one another within this field and this sector, but also and this was the experience that Masi also spoke about, you know, just bringing to attention of the center management that is next door to the school for the visually impaired, some of the obstacles that they faced. It's not done out of maliciousness. It's not done because, oh, we don't want it's just they don't know any better. So taking that opportunity to educate, to inform, and to help, offer suggestions, offer support, be willing to get involved and be willing to work together.
Right. No, thank you for that, Robin. And I think just moving on to you, Aliso. You're a songwriter, you're a storyteller, and I'd like to believe as a young person you're also in social media and whatnot. So these are things that aren't far from you. But as a young person, do you think, or rather, how can storytelling and media representation influence how society's attitude is towards individuals living with disabilities? So how can we use these two tools? Storytelling, maybe in the form of songs, maybe in the form of engagement or whatever the case may be. How can those things influence, or rather, and media representation help people to address the attitude that society has towards people with disabilities?
Storytelling can, by storytelling, it can influence the attitude of other people two people who have disability. In order to do that, I would suggest that maybe in your storytelling you, how can I say this? Say something positive about people with disability. Maybe like share that they are capable of doing this, and they are they're like capable of doing things just like everybody else. And it can also influence people by it can influence people by telling them, like storytelling, by saying in the Lando story that people with disability, yeah, they are capable of doing something that you can do. And also judging them isn't gonna help them at all. It's not. Yeah, I mean, you can state the things that judging them or is not gonna help them. Yeah. Then like a negative attitude towards people with disability can affect those people in many bad harmful ways. So I would suggest to stop the negativity, because people with disability can become depressed because of that influence, you know.
Sure. No, loud and clear. And I think you're one of those people who are ambassadors of such awareness and change. I mean, songs like these that empowered an entire room of people, you know, are things that move us and make us more morally, socially, and consciously aware of how the words that people say affect you. So I think just in encouraging you, keep pushing those boundaries and keep sharing messages and storytelling. But again, I think my just last question to you, Robin. I know you guys work a lot with optometrists and ophthalmologists for the visually impaired. I know you worked a lot with Benjamin Liss as well. And I heard a story as well that was shared there, just in terms of some of the difficulties that children go through. You find a child who's wearing their granddad's pair of spectacles. I mean, the eyesight isn't the same. I wear glasses. I should naturally know that. And those are you're only worsening the situation. Just really and truly, how can we really kind of work together? Because this is a critical problem. And I think if it wasn't for awareness, and if it's not for working together, because there's only so much spend that government has in terms of rolling out these programs, ensuring that children have specialists and the like. How can we really find one common goal in addressing disability? I know you've touched on it briefly, but just how can we galvanize a strong, actionable force to do something in our communities?
Thank you very much. I think, the sad reality is that what is happening with our Department of Health and some of the systems that are in place really does, we know from I would say a superficial level or some very, very deep level that it affects everybody. But when you look at it, that there is one optometrist in public health for the whole of Port Elizabeth and the surrounding areas. So the reach is all the way Humansdorp down to that side, all the way into Graaff-Reinet, all the way Port Alfred side. There is one person. And in terms of time and the ability for one person to service all children and adults with eye-related issues in public health, it's an impossible ask. And so there are issues that are systemic. There are things that only people in the positions that have the sway and the influence to do something can do something about. Yes, we can advocate, we can bring awareness, we can put pressure on it, but at the end of the day, we can't put another optometrist there. It's that kind of thing. But what we can do is find accessible services, other healthcare providers and optometrists that are willing to do it, and willing to fill that gap. And there are wonderful organizations that have done that. So an example is, Specsavers saw that huge need, and they have their free right to sight campaign, where children aged 6 till 12 can have free eye test and spectacles. There's other optometrists that have similar things and initiatives, and these are organizations that have the ability and the capacity, and they have taken an actionable step. And then you get your smaller optometrists, your small private practices, that they have also come to the party. When we approach them and we say, we have a child that needs an eye test, they are willing to fit a couple in here and there pro bono, help us out. We've got wonderful partners and sponsorships that help with spectacle provision. So it's finding and identifying the need and the gap and trying to fill that gap while not forgetting to put pressure on the system that should be filling it. Because we also don't want to take away from that, because it's not sustainable. So while we're working on the sustainable fix, we can't let children that need glasses not get their glasses, or children that need access to medication and health services not get that. So it's all about a plan for now, while looking ahead at your long-term, actionable, sustainable solves. And I think, being here today, all of you that are here have already shown that first step, that first commitment to say, disability matters. I want to do something about it. And it would be wonderful if through this discussions arose on a common target, on something that impacts everybody that is here, so that there is an actionable outcome. And I'm excited when I hear you talking about, this time next year and things like that, because that's what this is. It's a coming together and working towards a shared goal. So thank you to everyone for being here, for showing that commitment, and of course to Spark and the Changemakers Network for facilitating and putting this together.
Sure, 100%. Thank you for that. And I think just lastly, Spogazi, how can educational institutions adapt or rather change their curriculum in such a way that it becomes inclusive for people living with disabilities?
Okay. Thank you so much for the question, which is something I am passionate about. And I think for the workshops that I've had with the academics this year, I've always started with this. When you prepare as an academic or as a lecturer to go to a lecture room, have in mind the diverse students that you are coming to meet. Saying that because not all the time we have disabilities disclosed. And then you find students in lecture halls who suffer because for some reasons, which most of the times they came to being stigmatized because of what I've disclosed. So I've always said that please prepare with diversity in mind. That is to say, when you are going to point to say, this is a graph, think of someone who's not going to see it. And that's when now comes the principles of universal design for learning. I remember Robin touched on universal design when we started earlier. So that is the area we are working with academics presently in the university to say that when they prepare for lecturing, when they prepare their study guides, when they make choice of the textbooks, let's ensure accessibility first. Let's consider the various abilities that we have within a classroom so that it will not take time or it will not be after you have been in the lecture hall to say, oh, there's someone who is not going to be able to read. So lectures then are provided, are recorded. There's going to be also assistive devices that we provide for students that they will take with. For example, we've had Orbit readers where a blind student can actually go to a lecture hall and have to type and go along with the lecture as it goes. So to make studies or courses accessible, we've encouraged the academics to make use of the universal design for learning principles, which ensures that before you do not need to know that there's a student with a disability, but what you provide, the content you deliver, it's accessible to everyone, despite of visible or invisible disabilities. Yes, thank you.
Thank you again. Colleagues, I'm now going to open it up to the floor. You're more than welcome to pose any questions that you'd like to our panel and just engage on some of the things that they've really been touching on. So I'll take it in a group of 3 hands, and we'll then get into discussion through rounds. It's now open to everyone. Do you have any hands in the room? All right, let's kick it off with the first one. I'll note hands. I've noted a second hand. Do we have a third hand? I've noted Eustace as a third hand. Okay, that'll be the first round.
So good day, everyone. My name is Sinolwazi April. So having to work at UAds, I am exposed to a lot, and I'm learning a lot, right? Particularly about different disabilities. So now I find myself going around and just observing more, particularly at home. So now, because I didn't know that there are, when it comes to autism, I didn't know that there are different types because of going back to what you were talking about, social media or media, because we get to see somebody who's unruly and when they show in movies and they don't show that they are actually academic. Now, as I'm exposed to now university students who are up to, now they're going to graduate, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. And now I am observing at home and I see like symptoms because I speak to students as well, and I'm like, how can we see? Now, my challenge is how do I then start that conversation with their parents? Because I come also from a background where when a child is living with a disability, they are seen as being bewitched or it's a curse, right? Because now it's also a mental thing. I don't want to now come across as I am diagnosing the child, because I am not in that position. I'm not a medical doctor or anything like that. But then even yesterday, I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, I think Lomdana is autistic. Ne? The first thing my mom said, but they're very smart. I'm like, yes, they are smart. But now look at how they interact. They play alone most of the time. When we're talking to him, he's not making eye contact. Yes, he's smart. At school, he's getting all the awards. But now you find that they go up until a certain level and they don't matriculate, because we have quite a few at home, but nobody knows what it is. They think it's genetic as well. But then for me, I'm thinking, let's not look at also physical. They're smart. How about we look at that? Also, I think we have a challenge with our education system, because also when I went to school, whenever a child cannot read or write, they're called stupid. Now I'm working with students. I didn't know that you can get a scribe, somebody to write for you and somebody to read for you. So I feel like also educationally, teachers need to know that as well. Like from preschool, when you observe that this child is not able to do A, B, and C, it doesn't mean that they're not intelligent, but it's just that they're not academic. So, yeah, I've said a lot, but like, how do I start that conversation? That's the most important thing at home. Yes.
And that question is directed to Robin. All right.
Sorry, do you want to take all three questions or one by one?
One by one.
One by one, okay.
So I think you have a very valid question, and exactly like you said, unless you are a professional who's able to diagnose, I think the best way, what we've found, is to approach it gently and if needed over time, because parents and other people, it does take time. Parents can be in denial. You get different people that are at different phases in their own lives at how they might be receptive or open to it or not at all. And so, to do it with the pretense of saying you want the best for the child, because that is what the end of the day, what it's about. It's not about the label. It's not about the paper that says this is what your child has. It's actually about learning more about the child and how best to support that child. And I think if that's the message that parents can understand, is that it's not about, the label. If it's not going to change, it's not going to make a child, having that label doesn't make them a certain way or change them. It's just about the support side and getting the best for the child, framing it in that way, to try to get that parent to the point that they will be willing to go through the process of getting tests done and assessments and things like that. So yeah, that would be my advice based on experience. And just to also to comment on what you said about media, I think that is one of, there's all the pros and the cons about social media, but one of the big benefits of it is that when you start to look, there are a lot of people and content creators out there sharing their own experiences. And I always love it when I find someone that's South African, because it seems to be a lot more international, but we can still learn from them. But people with Tourette's, people that are blind, that are doing their thing, all of these different disabilities are being showcased by different people. And that's where you see the diversity that Sipokazi has spoken about. Like, it's not just one way of being. It's the same label, it's the same term, but it affects everybody differently. And how they handle it or how it affects them can be completely different. So, finding that sector or that niche on your social medias is also really, I have found it to be an incredibly valuable learning tool. And it gives some purpose to the scrolling.
If I may add something? Okay. Yes. And briefly to add on Robin's answer, there's also an opportunity for as many that would want to learn. I mean, we are living in communities, and as I've said earlier, disability is part of life. In our communities, we have persons with disabilities. In some places, we'll have a group of parents that come together, say parents of children with autism. They will have organizations. That's another platform where we can go in to support, and it will also provide us opportunity to learn more. And then we are able to interact and also to speak in a way that will not be derogatory or that will not discriminate. So, and again, I'm of the opinion that it doesn't necessarily to be the communion of parents or the community of parents. It doesn't necessarily have to be started with the parent themselves, because in some communities, there are parents that are not aware of such. So as yourself, you can start something to say, I'm bringing together parents of children with disabilities, and we work on how best they can be supported. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We've got a second question. Linda, you already there?
Sorry, this is not a question. I think I want to make a comment. I've had few points that I think I need to add on to. Alizwa mentioned something very important about highlighting and telling stories, positive stories about people who've got disabilities. And I think that is such a powerful tool, because we don't, there's this perception that as organization, when we meet the people with disability, they're always in this gloomy, sad state, you know. But we actually find people that are really contributing into the community. They're doing things in their little corners in the community, whatever they can do. And they've got this positive attitude and positive stories to tell. But they just lack the platform. So I think us as an organizations that are bigger than those little people that are, I mean not little people, are the people are in those corners in the community. They're trying to bring out about the awareness about people with disabilities. We must not be stingy about our platforms. We must share our platforms, whatever. Remember, we're all organizations, but we've got resources. What Bona Ubuntu doesn't have, maybe Nkosinati has, maybe DSD has. So if we start sharing these resources, and then what we are doing now, the little voice that was in the corner is becoming a bigger voice. And that's what I feel like is lacking when it comes to working with people with disabilities. We lack collaboration, we lack a platform. We actually come together and work as a, yes, we do great works as individuals. But imagine what we can do if we actually come together, and you bring your resources, I bring mine, then we come together and do the work in the society. So that's just what I wanted to comment on.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for all your fruitful engagement, colleagues. We'll now wrap up the panel discussion, and like Linda has said, if you've got any pressing issue, anything that you'd like to engage, please kindly take it offline with the panelists. And there are a number of other industry-related experts that we have in the room, APD and the like. Engage with them. Let's communicate amongst each other. There will be a light lunch served, and that's where the opportunity for even networking, sharing of ideas, and just engaging each other will be. But for now, let's park it there, and can we please get a round of applause for our panelists as they make their way down. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, colleagues. I understand it's been a long day, but hopefully it's been a fruitful and engaging day for you as well. We definitely have learned a lot. I definitely have learned a lot today, and I wish we had basically the whole day to discuss these issues and this topic. But I like that that last comment actually for me is something that I want us to take with and run with it, and hopefully have more of these kinds of engagements or events. That whole thing of collaboration. We cannot do, I mean, we don't work in silos, and the sooner we realize that, the better. We can definitely have a bigger impact if we all combine our resources. All right? So we're going to shine light quickly on a couple, or I think we have 4 organizations in Nasive who are doing amazing work. We have Indlela. I'm sorry, I just need my notes. Oh, actually right next to me. We have Indlela, Nkosinati Foundation, Lele 2, Ilizwe Development Agency, and Quest School for Learners with Autism. Colleagues, can I ask you to really keep it brief? You know, that elevator pitch, you have 30 seconds to inform people about your organization. I'm sorry, we really don't have time, but at least we're going to have time when we're enjoying the beautiful Maimaitu lunch. All right, so where are we starting? Indlela, are you ready? Okay, Indlela is downstairs. Nkosinati Foundation. Yonela, do you want to speak again? Or your colleague? All right. And then Lele to Elizwe, prepare your elevator pitch as well.
We are the Ngosnati Foundation. Our service is to provide rehabilitation services to the blind and partially sighted community through psychosocial support, through orientation and mobility services, through low vision services where we try to make the remaining vision you've got functional for you through the use of assistive devices. And we've got also the Parent Empowerment Project, which also tries and supports the families of individuals with blindness. And we've also got a youth skills project where we provide CETA accredited computer training. It runs for a period of 12 months.
Thank you. That's how we do it, colleagues. Short, straight to the point. Over to you, Lele to Elizwe.
Hi, my name is Lele Tumambihlala. I'm the founder of Lele to Elizwe Development Agency. We really work in the art space, promoting inclusivity in all programs, inclusivity of children, women, and persons with disabilities, and we're also about creating a global network of artists across the world. Currently, we are working on a project. You've got the flyers there, Bright Sounds and Verses. This is to celebrate artists who are extremely talented, like myself, who have disabilities. And because we're talking inclusivity, we're mixing the artists on stage. It's artists who are able-bodied and artists who have disabilities. 7th December, PE Bowling Club, get your tickets.
Beautiful. Thank you. The colleague from Indlela is still not here. Okay, we'll move on to Quest School for Learners with Autism.
Afternoon, guys. I'm from Quest School. Quest is based at South End, number 2, Hoy Street. We are dealing with the autistic learners. We have different levels of autism, mild, normal, and others are having difficult behaviors. We're doing in-service trainings like gardening, we car wash, live computer skills, and we do hospitality. I've got the email if someone wants to know more about Quest and all the sorts of stuff. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. I see the colleague from Indlela is back, but I'll give you a minute just to pull yourself towards yourself.
Okay, my name is Bomkazi. I'm a social worker at Indlela Mental Health. What we basically do, we are different sectors. The first, we've got a Skills Development Center that's in New Brighton, Motherwell, and Zwide. It's basically for the youth with intellectual disabilities who cannot continue with mainstream schools. And then we also have a Psychosocial Rehabilitation Center, one here in Woma and another one in Hillside. That's your 24/7, and it's a 2-year program. It's people mainly who cannot go back to society straight from hospital where they were diagnosed, or sometimes you find that they did something in the community, so they cannot just go back to the community. So we teach them basic living skills and also how to go back to the community. And then we also have social work services within the communities. I would have loved that data from DOE State, because one of the challenges that we face is parents coming to us and wanting schools, especially here in Woma, for kids with intellectual disabilities. Because you'd find out once they are in grade 7, there's nothing further. Everything that we know of is not in Woma, it's further than Woma. And unfortunately, we service disadvantaged backgrounds. So it's people who cannot afford to go to these places. So yeah, but anyway, social work services, the skills development centers, and the rehabilitation facilities.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you. And colleagues, we've reached the end of our program. Due to time, we will not do the pledge in this space, but what we advise colleagues to do is, as you enjoy your lunch, please keep an eye out for pinboards Nesive, and just make a pledge, man, for your organization or a personal pledge. Basically, what are you going to do to ensure that, you know, our society is more inclusive? All right? We'll put that together maybe on a Canva poster and then share it with everyone. All right. Thank you so much from my side. Amanda, I know I'm going to hijack yours, but I'm going to definitely hand back to you. But I just want to thank everyone, man, for making the time and attending our luncheon. And I see faces, people who have attended all the luncheons that we've had. We've had 3 so far, and I think maybe 6 or 7 since we started last year. But thank you, colleagues. Every time, there's a call, please come to our luncheons. We always get a full house. Thank you for that. And thank you to our beautiful sign interpreter. Oh, he's doing amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Masifunde team, and thank you, Laura, for taking pictures. And I think the MCN team ran away. It's like they knew I wanted to call everyone to the front. Sive, Debonay, Kuma, Ase. Please, man, I just want to showcase the amazing team that I have a pleasure of working with. Please, sorry, everyone, sorry, I'm not going to get this opportunity to thank this beautiful team. They're doing amazing work, man. All these beautiful events that we managed to put together, it's because of these beautiful ladies, and we're going to have the gents. Tuma, where's Lucas? Lati, you know, this glory. But yeah, this is the team that amazing. Hopefully we have a better maybe to make it bigger and better next year. Thank you for your support. Thank you, man, everyone. The Masifunde team, thank you at the back. Thank you for your support. Thank you. A round of applause.
All right, thank you very much, Linda and colleagues. I think just as a parting shot from my side, in gathering all the information that was said here today in closure, let's keep on building these platforms where we can come up with these credible ideas. As has been mentioned, there are a number of us that are in different spaces. So in as much as we keep on building this platform, the only way to know is to work, learn, and grow. So let's continue building these platforms. Let's continue shaping our thinking towards inclusivity, because some of the things that we do are not malicious, as has been mentioned. But if we continue shaping our thinking, then we can become more cognizant of the things that we do and the things that we don't do, because inaction in itself is an action. I never used to have a lot of icks or unpleasantries. I know pulling a seat and not pushing it back was one of them. I know people parking in disabled parking bays was one of them. But today I walk away with much, much more that will clearly rub me the wrong way when I see it. And I'll become more aware of these things. And it's those small actions that really make a contribution in other people's lives. I think Aliaswa has shared it, be careful of some of the things that you say and some of the things that you do, because you don't know what they mean to another person. So with that, colleagues, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your valuable input, and I hope that we can continue on this journey, because it's not just about us, it's about creating a world where everyone can feel like they're a first-class citizen. Thank you and enjoy lunch.